And they can do the same thing in reverse, coming down. And then on the bottom line, that primary chords over the major scales in the left hand creates the primary chord scale. And then a while back, I shared something that I called the major stuff and things sheets that I use, and those looked kind of like this. I made them for each and every key, and the idea of this was to give it to a student when they were working in a key that they were unfamiliar with, and just to give them kind of the essentials straight away. So the idea of these was, first page we had just very basic information regarding the key. The second page went on to like extensions and enhancements, things that you could add to major and minor chords to enhance the sound. And then the third page kind of went more into like a discovery mode with non-diatonic chords and things like that. And again, this was not supposed to be a comprehensive thing that they're like master the key, but it just presented enough information that they could get really, really comfortable when approaching a new key to work in. So these were great. Now, with my students, I do a lot of things like I'll work with singers and things like that. So we'll use like lyric and chord sheets that I'll make up for them like this. And I've even started doing some things that I call chord finds. Now this is the same song, but instead of having chords over the lyrics, there's boxes where chords should go. And so I give this to them as an assignment, and then from there they will try to figure out what chords go in there. And then after they kind of complete that, then they get the official lyric and chord sheet here. And then you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, I give them relevant information, the key of D, the scale, the chords that are used within the song, and where they fall, whether it's the 1 chord, 5 chord, and then some chord variants. And if there were non-diatonic chords, we'd put that in there too. So we have all that kind of stuff. But when they're working with this, sometimes they need a little bit more information. So that's when I came up with the major stuff and things to get them to work through. Now, the area that got a little complicated, I told students, like, if you can get through the first page, like that is enough to really like get going. Okay, so working through the major scale, everyone got that, and then the chord scale, everybody kind of got that, taking every other note and then how it would fall, and understanding that the 1, 4, and 5 were major, the 2, 3, and 6 were minor, which in the next line down, I split that up so they could just see that very quickly. These are your major triads, these are your minor triads. But then the primary chord scale is where it got a little confusing for some people. And what I was trying to get them to understand is that the primary chords are your 1, 4, and 5, and you can basically always use just the 1, 4, and 5 in the right hand to create more chords within the song beyond just the regular chord scale. And so even though it sounds like that's a little simpler, it actually enhances some of the chords and the sounds and things like that. So, but still it was a little bit lost. So I've created something now that I hope will help them. And this is what I'm calling, this is the primary chord scale builder. And so this is a more visual thing. So I just want to explain what this is. I've made these in every key, and I'll give you a link to be able to get them if it's something that you think might be useful for your students. Okay, so the D major primary chord scale builder. So the first line here is just major scale. It's all the notes of the major scale, and the black keys are highlighted in black. So when I teach major scales for the very first time, I always have my students use one finger and just poke at the notes. It's because I want them tracing the shape in their mind and seeing that very visually. So I'll have them take their second finger after they've hit the keys and kind of trace over without touching and just get that shape in their mind. And then I'll have them close their eyes, visualize a piano, trace that shape in the air. And then after that, they can go ahead and add proper fingering. But this isn't a scale exercise. This is just, I just wanted that there at the top so it's a visual. They see the 2 white, 1 black, 3 white, 1 black. And then underneath that, which is the same thing that they had in the major stuff and things, is the chord scale. So they got D, E minor, F sharp minor. So again, 1, 4, and 5 are the major, the 2, 3, and 6 are minor, the 7 is the diminished. So the primary chord scale, this is where we get into the purpose of this. So the primary chords in the right hand, I've color coded in green. All of the 1 chords are in green, the 4 chords are in blue, and the 5 chords are in red. And so when you take those primary chords and you place them over the major scale in the left hand, they'll get D, G over E, D over F sharp, G, A, D over B, A over C sharp, D. And then they can do the same thing in reverse. coming down. And then on the bottom line, that primary chords over the major scales in the left hand creates the primary chord scale. And then they can see exactly, you'll see the equal signs in there, so they can see G over E equals E minor 7. So they can start to see that shape. And so when they know, if they can quickly identify the third of the chord, that's what I tell them for the minor 7s. If you can quickly identify the third of the chord, what's the third of E minor? It's G. Now you can play that G in any inversion in the right hand. And so again, this is just to get them very, very comfortable quickly with the primary chords. So moving on to that, the only other thing I popped in here was the other common uses, which again, in pop music, typically when you hear that 3 in the bass, a lot of times it's going to be the D over F sharp. It's going to be the 1 chord over the 3. But if it's not that, it's probably going to be the 3 minor 7. So I put that in there as the additional one. And then also we have the James Taylor chord, where you play a G over the A. And that creates that kind of like suspended feel. So those are the other two that I put in there. So I might add more. There's obviously more options, but the goal of this is not to overwhelm my students, but to, again, get them comfortable with all the chords that are going to be coming up, because, again, in this key, if I open up that file that I had before, Do My Sweet Carolina, so again, this is a typical pop tune. Check it out. We got the 1 chord, we got the 4 chord, 1, 4, 5. And then look, here we have this walk down, A over C sharp, the 6 minor 7. So these are all the things that they kind of just get their head wrapped around as they do the primary chord scale. Because what's that B minor 7? It's a D over B. And the A over C sharp, that's the replacement, right? Because you're not going to be using diminished chords in pop tunes very often. So oftentimes it's the 5 chord with the 7th note in the scale. So anyway, I don't know if this will make sense to anybody other than me, but it's something that I just decided to do. And since I did it, I might as well share it. And so I have it where you can download each individual page, which is how I intend to use it with my students. Now these are color coded, so I'm going to be using these on an iPad. I'm not printing these out. I just open this up on an iPad because when I'm working with students, sometimes I don't know what we're going to do when I walk through the door. So I like to have materials ready that I'll be able to reference. But I will pop this up on an iPad, and then there's room left in these charts to be able to write some notes and things like that. And so I have one file that's all 12 keys, and you can see the major scales on the top. They keep adding black keys. So I changed that up so again they can kind of visually see the order of white and black. And so that's one file with all 12, and then there's a separate file there that will have each individual one. So let's see. Yeah, so that's right here. So you can see you can just grab one page if you want, or you can grab the file that has all of them. And again, this is something that I'm just going to use with my students to get them to understand that a little bit more. And it's good for songwriting. They could just start playing. And when they see that, everything in the green, like everything in the green works with a 1 chord. So they can see that right away, that D, the F sharp works with the D. The B works with the D. And then when they look at the blue chords, that's the 4 chord. So they got the G over E, the E minor 7, the regular G, and then even on the bottom, they have the G over A, and then the red chords are for the 5. Anything with a red you can do. So 5 chord A over C sharp, or the A over F sharp to create the 3 minor 7. So I don't know, hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but if I know it's kind of weird to look at stuff like this because it's I created it, it works for my brain. I don't know if it'll work for yours, but if you think it's cool, it's something you can grab and use with your students. And I think this will work really well with, again, the type of students that would be working off like lyric and chord sheets and things like that, because this is really the majority of what they're going to be finding in pop tunes. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to grab a copy, there'll be a link below.